This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Wednesday, the 23rd day of September in the year 2020. I'm Gordon Mosley. Here is what we're tracking tonight. With the world still grappling with rising numbers in coronavirus infections, Guyana's President Harrissingh Funeral used his inaugural address to the United Nations General Assembly to call for more support and action to assist developing nations as they battle the disease.
The pandemic has launched an attack on health and well-being of our people, while the economy has become a casualty of this assault. The pandemic is reversing our gains on health, poverty, and education. More than ever, the resolve of the United Nations is being tested, and it is evident that no single country can overcome the debilitating effects alone. This reality must inform the trajectory of the United Nations so that it can support the efforts of developing countries to rebuild and to become more resilient.
President Ali told the UN General Assembly that there is the need for a strong multilateral system for collective action to take on the pandemic.
I acknowledge the support of UN agencies in my country's response to the COVID-19 crisis. We trust and support the efforts of the UN system to ensure fair, transparent, and timely global access to preventative tools, equipment, and materials for testing. In this regard, we recognize the important role of the World Health Organization in coordinating the response of the UN system and in global public health preparedness and response. We look forward to increased international cooperation to contain, mitigate, and defeat the pandemic.
The United Nations is celebrating its 75th anniversary this year. It is the first time in the history of the organization that its General Assembly is being done virtually. Usually, world leaders would travel to New York to make their speeches during the General Assembly, but all of that has changed with the presence of coronavirus. President Ali also touched on Guyana's case against Venezuela that is currently before the International Court of Justice. The president said today that Guyana remains confident in the work of the International Court.
In March 2018, Guyana filed its application in the International Court of Justice, seeking an affirmation of the validity of the 1899 arbitral award and the international boundary that is established. We are happy to report that on the 30th of June 2020, the ICJ held its first virtual hearing on the controversy involving Guyana and the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. Regrettably, Venezuela has refused to participate in the hearing. Guyana now awaits the determination of the ICJ on whether the court has jurisdiction to proceed to hearing the merits of the case.
The president said Guyana will continue to play its role on the global stage and remains committed to the work of the United Nations. More news coming up in just a moment.
For all the Zoom hashouts and recipe tryouts, the world changed and we were right there, standing with you, always near, getting closer in so many ways, laughing together as we face these days. And because we are Caribbean, we've got a special insight that tells us there's no need to worry, world. We'll be all right.
Isuzu D-Max, built to work. Whether it's mining, construction, agriculture, or just adventure, Isuzu D-Max does the job. Put it to the test. Isuzu D-Max, engineered to keep every promise. Marex is the authorized dealer for all Isuzu products. Marex, telephone 226-1482 and 226-1306.
The government of Guyana invites supermarkets and shops in all regions to submit expressions of interest to supply items for the COVID-19 Public Assistance Program Phase 2. Applicants must demonstrate capacity to supply canned and bottled food products, dry and fresh rations valued between $25,000 to $32,000 per voucher, have adequate space in their business as per COVID-19 guidelines, or for sanitation facilities. Interested applicants can uplift the expression of interest form and selection criteria from the Civil Defense Commission in Georgetown or at your nearest regional executive officer's office between 9 to 15 hours, or request by email at pavpgy@gmail.com. Kindly deposit completed forms on or before 9 hours September 30, 2020, along with copies of valid business registration or certificate of incorporation and NIS and GRA compliance into the tender box at the National Procurement and Tender Administration, Main and Urquhart Streets, Georgetown. These must be in a sealed envelope, clearly marked expression of interest to supply items under the COVID-19 Voucher Assistance Program Phase 2. No expression of interest will be accepted by email. The Civil Defense Commission reserves the right to accept or reject.
Falls, the official distributors of Castrol Marine, Mining and Power Gen lubricants in Guyana, now has in stock CRB engine oils, high-spin hydraulic oil, Vecton semi-synthetic truck oils, and Sultex cylinder oils. For the best prices, check our dealers countrywide or visit Falls gas station at Land of Canaan, East Bank, Demerara, or call the commercial manager on 608-4998. Castrol, it's more than just oil, it's liquid engineering.
Guyana, we've been through it all.
But as a people we have
weathered every storm
And risen to every challenge.
Because it is the people of Guyana
that gives it its strength.
all the people,
regardless of race,
class, or religion.
We
are one people, one strength.
And now is our time. A time to rise. Together, we rise.
Mobil Special and all other Mobil lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc. Mobil Special and all other Mobil lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc. Welcome back. The month of September has become the deadliest month for the coronavirus pandemic in Guyana, with 32 deaths being recorded in the month so far. This afternoon, the Ministry of Health announced the passing of 2 more COVID-19 victims. A 70-year-old woman from Region 4 and a 66-year-old woman from Region 1 are the latest fatalities. No other information was provided on their deaths. Yesterday, the Ministry of Health also recorded 2 deaths, with a 25-year-old man losing his battle against the disease last evening. In the first 4 months of the COVID-19 pandemic in Guyana, the country recorded 20 deaths, but in the past 7 weeks, the death toll increased by 51. The Ministry of Health has announced that there are 98 new cases of COVID-19 as of midnight last night. Of those 98 new cases, 57 were recorded in Region 1, putting the communities in that region back in the spotlight as a hot spot for COVID-19 cases. While the country has seen 1,464 recoveries from coronavirus, there are currently 988 active cases, with more than 800 of those active cases in home isolation. Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony said although the numbers are climbing, the recovery rate in the country is also remarkable.
I want to get people to understand that we have had a remarkable recovery rate, and I think that's something that we ought to pay attention to and don't lose sight of.
The Minister of Health indicated that the Health Ministry will continue to encourage persons to follow its guidelines to safeguard themselves against the spread of COVID-19. Several nurses attached to the Linden Hospital downed their tools this morning and picketed outside the Mackenzie Hospital for the late payment of their salaries and a number of other issues. The nurses said they should have been paid their salaries yesterday, but they are still awaiting word on when the salaries will make it into their bank accounts. The nurses marched from downtown Mackenzie to the hospital while chanting that they will go on strike if they are not taken seriously. They complained that the situation has been happening for way too long, and now they want the Ministry of Health to fix the problem for good. Regional Health Officer Dr. Gregory Harris met with the protesting nurses and indicated to them that their concerns will be addressed. Some of the nurses voiced concerns about not being paid any risk allowance, although they are working on the front line in the fight against COVID-19. Nurses in Linden have refused to continue traveling with the ambulance when patients are being transferred because they are not covered by any insurance or risk allowance. Last year, a male nurse died in an accident while on board an ambulance, and it was then that it was realized that nurses were not covered while on duty in an ambulance. And still in the health sector, frustrated with the long working hours, no overtime and the paltry risk allowance, a number of medical technologists attached to the National Reference Laboratory are threatening to down tools if their concerns are not addressed soon. The National Reference Lab is the main testing site for coronavirus in Guyana. It is located at the Georgetown Hospital. In recent weeks, with increased samples being taken, the medical technologists have found themselves working longer than expected hours with no overtime. Some of the medtechs reached out to News Source today, and speaking on the condition of anonymity, they explained that they are now working 24 hours in various shifts, but no overtime has been offered to them. They said that sometimes they head into work at 8 o'clock in the morning and will remain there doing testing until 6 in the evening or even later, until another shift takes over. It was further explained that after they raised their concerns with the Ministry of Health, they were offered $5,000 per month as a risk allowance, and they believe that is simply not good enough. They said they are being asked to work additional hours with the same salary and a very small risk allowance. There are about 35 medical technologists working at the National Reference Laboratory. They are hoping to meet with the Minister of Health and other senior government officials to listen to their concerns and have the concerns addressed. In the past 7 weeks, Guyana has increased the volume of testing for COVID-19. There was a recent backlog of incomplete tests, but that backlog has since been cleared. Well, 2 weeks after his lifeless body was found in the back dam of No. 3 village, 17-year-old Harrissingh was laid to rest today. The teenager was found murdered with a wound to the head. A post-mortem examination found that he died from brain hemorrhage caused by blunt trauma to the head. His death came in the height of protests by West Coast Berbice villagers over the murder of two other teenagers, Joel and Isaiah Henry, days before. President Irfan Ali attended the funeral of Harrissingh today and said he remains saddened by the passing. The president said the country must start focusing more on unifying the nation.
In memory of these three young men, has to be on healing. It has to be on bringing our country together. It has to be on unifying our efforts in ensuring that all Guyanese, that our future does not have repeat of these horrific incidents.
President Ali also said his government will ensure programs are put in place to develop greater unity and cohesion in the country.
I can assure you that my government is going to work day in and day out to bring our people together through policies and programs, to bring our people together through social efforts, merging of culture. I think is important in creating that Guyanese identity, ensuring that social safety nets are there for the vulnerable in our society.
He also said that those persons who were affected and injured during the unrest will receive the necessary assistance and support.
In addition to visiting these families and attending the funerals, to talk to many of the persons who are injured. Some of them cannot fend for their own now because of the type of injury. So at some point also, we have to have that healing process there. I want them to know that all those persons who were affected in various ways, that we are going to connect with them also I've seen a lot of postings on social media. Personally, I have called many of them myself. But we have to connect with them to find ways in which we can help as a government.
Investigations into the death of Harrissingh and the cousins Joel and Isaiah Henry are still ongoing. Harrissingh's grandfather was one of the persons arrested in connection with the murder of the teen cousins. The president has said he will ensure all resources are made available for a full and complete investigation of the murders. A 23-year-old man who was on remand at the Lusignan jail escaped from the facility early this morning, triggering a search by the police and prison authorities along the east coast of Demerara. The prisoner, Leroy Graham, was remanded to the Lusignan jailhouse on the 20th of August on an armed robbery charge. He escaped at around 1:30 this morning. Prison Director Gladwin Samuel said the man's last known address was given as Middle Walk, Buxton, East Coast, Demerara. Details of his escape were not released, but the prison director is asking that anyone who may have information on the whereabouts of Leroy Graham to contact the nearest police station or call the Lusignan prison on telephone number 220-4173. Post-mortem examinations were conducted today on the bodies of the two prisoners who were shot dead at the Lusignan prison by prison guards on Saturday during an unrest. Government pathologist Dr. Nihal Singh found that the prisoners, Winston Hubert and Earl Graham, both died from shock and hemorrhage caused by a gunshot wound to the chest. One of the prisoners was serving a 3-month sentence on an assault conviction, while the other was on remand for rape. The prison service, in a statement over the weekend, explained that a group of prisoners charged the main gate of the facility during their unrest, forcing the guards to open fire. 5 other prisoners were injured. The Home Affairs Minister Robeson Ben, in a statement yesterday in the National Assembly, said the guards had no other choice since the prisoners were attempting to break out of the facility. Across the Region is coming up next. Delvac and all other mobile lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc. Mobile Delvac and all other mobile lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc.
We all know a strong educational foundation is a key to successful learning. Global Technology combines award-winning curriculum with innovative technology and teacher support to help students reach their potential. Our online platform creates an engaging learning experience. Using any device, you can be a part of amazing class discussions, collaborate with others, and have access to virtual learning software. With our multiple payment methods, you will never have to leave home. Find out how Global Technology can allow you to learn anything, anywhere, at any time.
Falls, the official distributors of Castrol Marine, Mining and Power Gen lubricants in Guyana, now has in stock CRB engine oils, high-spin hydraulic oil, Vecton semi-synthetic truck oils, and Sultex cylinder oils. For the best prices, check our dealers countrywide or visit Falls gas station at Land of Canaan, East Bank, Demerara, or call the commercial manager on 608-4998. Castrol, it's more than just oil, it's liquid engineering.
We are legions of men standing strong, but never too proud to stoop and help someone. We must send a clear signal to all. Do right, walk in upright ways, knowing that's what being a man is all about. And ever aware that things will only get worse when good men do nothing. Stand strong, be the one to live right.
Mobile Delvac and all other mobile lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc. Mobile Delvac and all other mobile lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc. Across the region right now, Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dominica and Antigua and Barbuda have started operating the CARICOM travel bubble, with the hope of resuscitating the travel and tourism sectors in those countries. A statement from the Barbados ambassador to CARICOM, David Commission, said the bubble went into effect last Friday, in keeping with the decision made at a special emergency CARICOM heads of government meeting 1 week before. The key feature of the COVID-19 travel bubble is that people entitled to participate are not required to take COVID-19 tests, nor to undergo a period of quarantine. The heads of government took the decision at a special emergency meeting at which they acknowledged that the past 6 months have been very challenging as countries globally have struggled to cope with the effects of the coronavirus. The Grenada government has said it will stage public consultations as part of the efforts to determine the changes needed to the national laws and international treaties regarding the decriminalization of marijuana in Grenada. The country's Minister of Agriculture, Peter David, said they are going to proceed in a way that takes everybody along with the government. The minister said that the Keith Mitchell government will be consulting with the various stakeholders, pointing out that both regional and international jurisdictions have adopted different formats and procedures for proceeding with either the decriminalization or legislation on marijuana. The government minister said that persons must be aware that the 2018 survey findings revealed that 30% of Grenadians are for full legislation, while 31% favored partial decriminalization. And finally tonight, international news. Prince Harry has urged U.S. citizens to reject hate speech and vote in the country's upcoming presidential election. He made the remarks alongside his wife Meghan in a U.S. television broadcast. A spokesperson for the couple said the comments did not refer to any specific political party or candidate, but were instead a call for decency. Voting for the next U.S. president with candidates including Donald Trump and Democrat Joe Biden is on the 3rd of November. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex appeared in a live video in what appeared to be their California home as part of the Time 100, a list compiled by Time magazine to celebrate the world's most influential people. It was their first joint TV appearance since they ceased being working members of the royal family back in March. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting.